Hello and welcome to another scrapbooking process video. You're getting 2 for 1 today because today I'm going to show you how I made 2 very different layouts using the same tools, supplies, and even a similar layout. And so I am going to start with the first one. At this point, I had no idea I was going to be making 2 layouts that were so similar, but I'm just getting started with the first one. My first challenge here is that I can't find any patterned papers that are full sheets to use as my background. So that is the reason why I'm going with this. I call these pages half and half designs, even though they're rarely actually half and half. So they're rarely 6 inches and 6 inches. In this case, this one it's 9 and 3 inches. And I am just laying these 2 pieces of paper together using my grid mat to show me where they need to overlap in order. Basically, I wanted to maximize the pink and just have that band of craft at the very, very top. Now I am using a sketch that I sketched out in the newsletter for the Sweet Summer Kit. And by the way, all of the supplies that I'm using today, almost all of the supplies, are using the Sweet Summer Kit. However, I'm going to be using the letter stickers from the Summer Lovin' kit, which was the kit from the month before. Now, because I have used this 50-50, this half and half layout, which is not half and half, but because I have now 2 pieces of paper on my background, I can't use the same design that I was going to use, which was going to have, I could have, but I didn't like the way that it looked. Those are those letter stickers from the other kit. I didn't like how it looked with the strip. I wanted a strip at the top and a strip at the bottom, but instead I'm putting a strip at the top of the pink paper and a strip at the bottom of the pink paper. What I did there was I just cut one strip and then I held it on an angle and cut it in half so that I wound up with 2 wedge-shaped strips for the top and the bottom. And then I also had that scalloped border. That was a leftover from the layout that I created with waves on it. That's the inverse of the wave pattern from a die that I used, and so I'm going to be using that as well. Now, these letter stickers are from Vicky Bouton's Mixed Media Kit. They did come in the Summer Lovin' kit, and I have been loving them as a nice neutral letter sticker that I could use when I don't want to use the letter stickers from the kit because they're red. And so not everything goes with red letter stickers. And so I figured that we would be dipping into some of our stash for some of the titles on this layout. I've used those red letter stickers quite a bit on several layouts, but not every single layout that I did this month. And that is one of the benefits to belonging to a kit club is you do get new letter stickers every month and you can always go back to the previous ones if the current ones aren't meeting your needs. I am using a Faber-Castell Pitt pen with a brush tip to color in the outlines of these letter stickers. And that's giving me a reverse letter here where the inside of it is unfinished white and the outside is colored in with marker. These are customizable chipboard letter stickers from, as I said, Vicky Bouton's Mixed Media collection, and I really love them. And look at how bold they look. Am I spelling hops or posh, or what is it that I'm spelling here? Time will tell. You might know what I'm spelling because I already kind of put it out there. I'm outlining around the outside edges of these letter stickers so that basically that brush tip marker will be rubbing up against the edges so that I don't have any unfinished white edges around the outside edges of those letter stickers. I'm going to use some liquid glue because it gets into the little nooks and crannies of those super skinny little strips. And with this one, I'm just butting it right up against the pink paper. And with this one, I'm going to layer it right below that one, so on top of the pink paper. Ooh, I really like how that looks. I'm going to outline the strips, I'm going to outline the scallops, and I'm also going to outline the little strips just to give me a little bit more boldness on the background and emphasis. I'm going to mat this photo on black cardstock. I had a scrap laying around, which you can see it's almost the perfect size. This photo was printed at 2x3, which is a common size for me to print. And so that makes sense that there was already a mat that was pre-cut to that width. I am using my Sharpie pen here, and this is a Sharpie pen, not a Sharpie marker. There actually is a difference. So Sharpie markers are for slick surfaces, and they will bleed on porous paper. So you want to make sure that you're using the right marker for your outlining. Otherwise, your outlining will be a lot more thick and bleeding than you're wanting it to be. So this is just a felt tip marker, and it's pretty easy to outline this. I always keep my wrist locked into place as I'm outlining so that I outline with my whole arm, and that gives me better control. These letter stickers are still a little bit sticky, even though I've stuck them to a few things already. So I'm just going to de-stick them with, oops, I've got my letters mixed up myself. I'm going to de-stick them with my powder tool. And Soph is my daughter Sophie's nickname, so we will put those letters out like that. And I want to use this punch. This punch was part of the inspiration for even having this sketch, was that I wanted to have a design that really accentuates these chevron pieces that I knew I could punch out using this large EK Success punch. This is one of my favorite punches. I really love it. Now, if those chevrons are looking uneven, that's because the strip of paper behind it is a wedge, and I'm going to forget about that, and I'm going to line those up with that paper, and it's okay. It turns out that the chevrons will not be even on this page, and that is a-okay. I'm all right with it. So I'm going to overlap those letter stickers with the bottom of the photo, and then I'm just putting glue on the very outside edges, or not the outside edges, on the very inside corner of the chevrons so that I can lift the little wings of the chevron up and get myself a little bit of extra dimension. Now you saw me shift all of those chevrons up a little bit, and that was me making a mistake because, as I said, if I had left them where they would have actually been straight on the layout. This way, they're straight with that wedge-shaped piece of paper, but the wedge-shaped piece of paper is on an angle. So, but nonetheless, I do think that this page looked good when those chevrons were down a little bit and straight. It also looks good when they're up and more oriented towards the wedge-shaped paper. I think it looks good either way, and it's a good example of how sometimes we do think a little bit too much on these things. It's fine. It looks good. I'm going to use my punch, which is fairly heavy, to hold these letter stickers down. Now, the only reason they need to be held down is that these letter stickers are spanning a couple of different layers, so they're actually on a bit of an angle. They're being glued to the pink paper, plus 3 layers, which is the black cardstock, the white cardstock, and the photo. Plus, there's a couple of layers underneath of those things, too, with the wedge-shaped paper and the scallop border. So this layout in particular really lends itself to a bit of a wonky look to it. Like, it's because it's so minimalistic and it's going to have some paint splatter. It's going to be nice and casual. So it's okay that those chevrons are not lined up. I'm going to take this piece of scrap paper from another layout that I did with this kit, and I'm just getting a sense of how wide I want my journaling strips to be, because I am going to journal with them. I'm going to journal onto this paper, and then I'm going to cut it into strips. This is my vintage typewriter, which I have. I just bought it locally on Kijiji. It was many, many years ago. I actually bought it in a big crisis. I had a design team layout that I was in the middle of working on, and I was on a tight deadline. I had procrastinated and had to make this project by, I think, noon that day, and I got up super early, and my old typewriter jammed on me and I couldn't get it to work. And I went on Kijiji and found an ad for this typewriter, and the guy who was selling it I think he was a resident or a medical doctor or something, and he was just getting off a shift when I messaged him, and he was like, if you come right now, you can get it because I'm about to go to sleep for the day. So I grabbed it. He had a typewriter collection in his place, and he showed me some of his other typewriters. It was pretty cool. So this is my favorite typewriter. I really love it. I love the color of it, but I also really like how it works. It works way better than my We Are Memory Keepers typeset typewriter, which I only really keep the typeset typewriter because it does type onto 12-inch paper, which this one only will fit 11 an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, or 8.5, right? Like that's as wide as it goes. So now that I have these strips, I am going to, well, now they're not strips. Now that I have these lines of journaling, I'm going to cut them into strips using my scissors here. I really do like hand cut journaling strips. I sometimes will cut them with my trimmer just to make it fast, but I decided to cut them by hand here. My journaling here says, "This gal is growing up so fast right before our eyes. She has so many interests, including cooking, astronomy, music, books, cats, and tea. Now that she's driving, she's often on the go with her friends, thrifting, going to the beach, or the mall." And the first one I use my ATG for, but the ATG is actually a little bit too wide for these journaling strips, so I'm going to use liquid glue instead. I'm going to trim some of them down a little bit so that they're all different lengths. Adds a little bit of interest to the page. And I'm just making it so that they're not lined up or centered. They're just kind of randomly positioned below the title like that. I really love how that looks. And now I am going to do some sewing because I love the texture that sewing adds to a page. I'm just looking at it and thinking about whether I might want to do some splatter. I did grab my little splatter kit for black, and so I will be doing that. I took out this sewing machine because this is usually what my white thread is threaded in. And then I realized I broke the needle on that one the last time I was using it. So my black sewing machine, or it's gray, but my gray sewing machine that's usually threaded with black thread is actually threaded with white, conveniently, because I had to rethread it because of the breaking of the needle on the other one. I do have two. It's a bit of a luxury to have two sewing machines for scrapbooking, but there's a long story for why I have two of them, and maybe someday I'll tell you what that is. Some of you might have already heard that story, so I won't say it again. I'm using a combination of straight stitch and zigzag stitches here. The bottom one that I did there was a zigzag stitch, and then I'm doing 2 straight stitches, and then I'll do another zigzag stitch and a straight stitch. And I will change my camera view so that you can get a better sense of how this process works, just in case you don't sew on layouts very often. I'm actually live streaming with the tiaras over in our tiara community, which is our Patreon community. And so you can see the chat there and the video and whatnot. I live stream almost every Saturday with the tiaras, and it's a lot of fun. If you'd like to join us, you can join over on Patreon, and membership it starts pretty inexpensive. I think $2 is the lowest tier, and all tiers get access to the same videos. It's just you get a couple of extra perks if you have a higher tier. So this one is looking pretty good. It does need some splatter, so I'm just grabbing that Tri-Art palette again to mask my space so I don't get black paint all over everything. I am just putting a little blob of black paint, adding some water to make it drippy, and then I'll load up my paintbrush, and then I just tap it to get little splatters. And I'm making a little bit of a diagonal, so it goes from beside the photo and then diagonally down across the page. I really love how that looks, and look at how quickly this little ink splatter kit works. It cleans up so quickly. I love it. I used to always be reaching for things. I had to go get my gouache from one place and a brush from another place, and then a palette to drip it on, or a stamp block or something. So it is very nice to have the two kits. I have a white one and I have a black one, and I really like it that way. I am using my roller date stamp to put the date. I did have to look it up. It's the date of the eclipse, which was April 8th, 2024. Here are the two layouts that I made in a row, and I wasn't sure if I was going to even make another layout, but I decided, you know what, this little piece that I cut the chevrons from, it's not a little piece, it's a full 12 by 12 sheet. I thought, you know what, it might be cool to make another layout with that. I did pull over my sketches just to see if I wanted to use one of those, but I didn't. None of them were really conducive to the piece of paper with the chevron cutouts from it. And I just decided I'll just wing it. I'm not going to follow a sketch in this one. I rarely follow sketches, so it was fun to do two layouts based on sketches, but I'm happy to go off a sketch and just kind of play it by ear for this one. So I am you see me here kind of like looking at this paper and thinking a lot. And that is because I would like this pink piece to show through where the chevron cutouts are. And then I was thinking that what I would like to do is have another half and half layout. It's also not going to be half and half, but I have to think about how I might want to. Basically, I would like to punch more chevron shapes into this blue paper, this dark blue paper. And I just wanted to figure out how big the chevron shapes are going to be and how much pink paper I needed to make sure that I had on hand. And so I'm going to be combining this dark blue paper and the light pink paper. I really love the contrast that this layout ends up having. And I decided I'm going to cut a couple of more chevrons here. And I like the uneven pattern, like the fact that there are a couple of gaps here where the chevrons are not spaced as evenly together as they were if you had lined it all up. You can use the little shapes on the base of the punch to make sure that your shapes are all aligned properly and there are no extra gaps in between them. But in this case, I purposely didn't follow that because I liked the look of these chevron cutouts with the gaps in between. So that's what I'm going for. Now, here's a place where I wasn't sure if what I wanted to do would work. I would like to pop this teal piece of paper up off of the pink piece of paper. Now, keeping in mind that the pink piece of paper doesn't even run the whole size, like it's not even 12 inches tall. But and also there are some very, very thin strips that I'm going to have to cut if I want to pop this up. Like I said, I'm not sure if this is going to work, but I'm going to give it a try anyways. So let's see how this goes. I'm putting just little pieces of foam tape any place that I think might need some extra stability. And then I'm using a full piece here because that's I have got all the room I need there, right? And then I'm just cutting apart a couple of other little pieces and putting them every here and there. I don't have to support every single chevron here, but this is Cartabella paper, which is fairly heavy duty paper, and it's going to hold its own self. So I don't need to be too detailed about how I'm doing this, but I certainly do need a very thin strip to go all the way along this edge right here, or else it's not going to hold the space that I want it to hold. Basically, I want this to be popped up off of the pink paper so that when you look through it, you'll see a bit of shadow cast onto the pink background paper. I love that look when I'm using a cut file or something like this. I'm just going to piece together all those pieces of foam tape, and then I will have to take all of the backings off of them. So I have this smaller strip to basically sit behind the lower strip of chevrons, and then the top strip of chevrons will layer on what will become the top part of the background paper. You'll see how it goes together after I go. If I had a full 12 by 12 sheet of that pink paper, I could have just laid this right on top of a piece of 12 by 12 paper and it would have been perfect. But because I've used this kit and I'm getting to the end of it, I don't have enough full pieces of paper to be able to do that. So I'm just winging it here and trying to do my best. Oh, I'm sorry that happened off screen. Oh, I think I remember realizing that I was off screen, and I'm going to zoom out in a second here. Now I am using my grid mat. I'm setting that top line of pink paper at the 14-inch mark, and then I'm lining up the teal paper at the 2-inch mark, and I'm just dropping it on top of the pink paper. And of course, 2 plus 12 is 14, so that will make me a 12-inch background. So it'll fit nicely in a page protector. So here is my background. This is it. I thought about using that extra scalloped border that I had from the waves that I did a couple of layouts ago, but I decided that I didn't want to add something soft. I wanted to really emphasize the hard edges on this. There's a lot of points and corners. I am going to be scrapbooking this photo of my husband, Scott. He is grating garlic here, and he has a very determined look on his face. He is very determined to show that garlic who is boss. And I'm going to scrapbook this picture because I love it. And I turned it black and white before I did. I had a tiara who was asking whether you could use those chevrons for photo corners, and you absolutely can. They actually look really cute. It's not a 90-degree angle, but I think they look really cute. It's a really good idea. I might try that again another time. For this layout, though, I'm going for a very minimalist look because I really love these chevrons and the boldness of it. And sometimes the more you add to a layout, the less bold the bold elements are. And so the less I add, the more bold these chevrons are going to look. And that's my motto for this page. Now, if I put that photo up so that it's spanning both the teal and the pink paper, this layout is going to look way too much like the last layout that I just did. So I am keeping this photo down solely on the teal paper. And the only embellishment that will go on this pink paper are these 3 punched chevrons. So now I have 3 clusters of chevrons. One of those clusters is the 3 punch outs, and then the other 2 clusters are the inverse of the punch outs, like the negative space. And so that gives me a little bit of balance on this page. Adding those teal chevrons up in the very top just balances the page and pulls it all together. And now I'm thinking about what I might want to do. I'm going to try something here that I end up not liking, and I'll show you why. I was thinking, oh, maybe I'd like to double matte this. It's already matted in black cardstock. And I thought, I really love this paper, and I would love to matte this. I love how this light pink paper, I just adore light pink patterned paper as a matte on a black and white photo with a black mat. I just think it looks so sharp. But on this layout, it's too much. Remember, I'm going for bold here, and the more I add, the less bold everything else becomes. So now those chevrons really stand out as the main event on this page. Now I do need a title, and I am thinking about doing a little pun. I'm going to say, he's such a great guy, and great is going to be like grating, Grate, great. He's such a great guy. Now, if you look really closely, I don't know if that's actually grating when you push it through one of those things. I always call that a garlic grater, but I don't know if that's called grating or if it's called another term. I am not much of a cook, so I don't exactly know. So please don't correct me if I'm wrong, because I love my pun the way that it is and I don't want to change it. So we're going to pretend that it's a grater, even though it's a squeezer. We have, I've got those letter stickers. These are letter stickers from the Summer Lovin' kit, just like the last ones that I used. And I didn't love that Crayola Super Tip pink marker. It just wasn't quite the right shade. And it would have looked fine if I went with that, but I'm just thinking, I've got all these markers. I know I must have a marker that's a closer match than that, and I might as well use it. That's why I have stuff, right? Is so that I can use it. So I just went to get my Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers, and I am going to color all of these letter stickers in with this pink. And as you can see, it's a much better match for the pink background paper than that original Crayola marker was. Plus, these are way easier to color than the Crayola marker because they're good quality and they're made for coloring. And so if you overlap and go over the same area twice, it's not going to give you that weird overlapped marker look that you get with the Crayola markers when you do that. Oh, I really love how those look. And here's where I'm going to realize, I think I'm going to powder these so that they're not as sticky. Yeah. So here's where I'm going to realize that great and great both use the same letters because I almost spell the wrong great. And that's not a pun at all. There we go. And I'm going to fuss around with this. I don't know where to put it. It is going to live there. I just have to figure out what else I'm going to do. So the rest of this title is going to be in these whatevs puffy stickers that came in the embellishment kit for the Sweet Summer kit. And I'm going to spell he's such a and then guy for under the word great. I'm starting by putting the word guy right here because that's the easiest one because it just goes under the word great. Now that guy is there, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to glue down the letters for the word great. And this pattern paper has these horizontal lines right across it, so it's really easy to line up some titles on this. I love the contrast of that really dark teal colored pattern paper and that super, super light pink. It's just such a great contrast, and contrast is sort of the theme of this whole page. I am going to spell this out and not like how it looks at all. So I've got and then I'm spelling out such above that. And then I'm going to spell out he's above that. And I'm realizing, oh no, I don't have another H, but I do have an I, so I'm going to turn that I into an H by using a white gel pen. I just added a little, I don't know, a little leg to the I, or the one. And then I'm going to put that E, and then for an apostrophe, I'm going to do the same thing I did before, which is use a period, and then just raise it up a little bit in the sky, and then boom, I've got myself a sky comma, also known as an apostrophe. Now I'm going to, so I didn't like them stacked like this, so I'm going to actually line them up so that they spell out horizontally across the page and above the word great. So it'll take me just a few minutes to get those all moved over, but luckily these stickers are fairly forgiving, so I'm just spelling out he's, such, and then and I'll just take a second here to use my little poker tool to move them around just slightly. They don't have to be perfect. I kind of like the casual look of them being a little bit imperfect, actually. And now I am going to add some puffies, and this is going to be it. It's just going to be puffies, the only decoration on this. So I put those 2 stars right there. I thought about putting a heart there, but let's just go with a star. The stars are nice and pointy, just like the chevrons are. So everything is kind of pointy on this one, except for the little round letter stickers. So I added a little round puffy sticker there too, so that just to repeat those circles again. So before I share the photos, just a quick shout out to my Patreon supporters who you'll see on the screen in just a second. These folks help make this channel happen, so big thanks to all of them. Patrons do get early ad-free access to all of my process videos and real-time unedited versions of my videos as well, usually in the form of live streams, as well as behind-the-scenes videos of my room and my process, as well as some behind-the-scenes warehouse videos as well. And thanks to you also for watching all the way to the end. It really does help my channel, so I appreciate that. Once again, I'm MercyTiara, and I share my full process, including decision-making and what works and what doesn't work. So be sure sure to check out the links at the end of this video for my complete works of thousands of scrapbooking process videos. And if you happen to be new to scrapbooking, welcome to the hobby because we love having newcomers. Check out my intro to scrapbooking series called Take the Plunge, which I will link right here in a card as well. I hope that you enjoyed these pages. Stay tuned to my channel for more process videos. Until next time, take care and have a really great scrappy week.